Previously in X-Men, while the X-Men have spent some recent time around the mansion and in the city, youngest member Kitty Pryde is still finding her footing as a superhero. Cyclops and his new romantic interest, Lee Forrester, have discovered a mysterious aquatic-themed island while stranded in the Bermuda Triangle, and have learned that somehow, at the center of things, is the villain, Magneto, also known as Magneto. I am Jason Lapidus,
I'm Chris Sanagan.
and we are a group of 7 comics. We make comics, we talk about comics, and then we make some more comics, and then we talk about them again. We love doing that. We are 2 independent comic creators in the greater Toronto, Southern Ontario area of Canada. And on this show, we focus on, obviously, X-Men, and particularly Chris Claremont's monumental 15, 16-year run as a writer and creative director, pretty much, of the series, and how this is the most influential part of all X-Men comics that have thus influenced all comics, all mainstream Marvel comics, definitely in the 1980s, the generational animated series in the 1990s, and the mounds and mounds of action figures, the video game, the first superhero team massive film franchise with the X-Men films from Fox, of which there are about 13 and loose, including Deadpool, New Mutants, etc., and the future, of course, of the MCU. And so we love to make the connections to this essential run of X-Men comics, starting in 1975 with giant size X-Men #1, and right through until we're going to hopefully get to about 1990. Right now, we're sitting in 1981, which is remarkable. I can't believe we got this far, Chris. How are you?
We've done 6 years of comics.
We've covered, well, yes, but the issues didn't come out every month originally. They were like bi-monthly for a bit.
But our time over a year has seen their time go by 6 years.
Yeah, this is episode 59 of our never-ending series.
Very cool. Yeah, and you know what I love so much? We talk a lot about the idea of being this real touch point, this real not even just like the foundation for the X verse that comes after it, but the real core storytelling, real core storylines. As viewers of the show will know, or listeners, I am not an X person. I enjoy the X franchise, but these are the first time reading these books. But I came to it through various other media, similar, as you mentioned, the animated series in the 90s, the movies, all those key storylines.
Sure.
And what I love so much about what we talk about is when we go over these for like the first time, it's hard to find modern, I'll say modern, and again, maybe, or at least from that era, the 90s and the aughts storylines, that not surpass, but certainly carry the same weight of this, this Claremont and Byrne, and then now he's back with Cockrum. These runs, it's really seismic. Yeah.
I often think of, I use the word transcend, which is maybe a little bit too grandiose, but when stories get retold and there's new iterations of those kinds of stories, they become part of the larger, broader idea of that character. Like, for instance, Batman is a great example because there's 80 years of Batman and so many iterations. And after a while, if you erase everything and are going to start from scratch with either a new animated series or new film franchise or comics from scratch, there's certain things you've got to put in that have just become now so important. I actually think that after a couple times of trying it, like, Batman's back has to get broken. It's happened obviously in the comics. They went after it in the cartoon. Batman fights Bane, and Bane's going to break his back. And he's like, "I will break you."
In the animated series.
In the animated series, he's going to break his back. Of course, they shy away from it because it's inappropriate for a 22-minute episode. Of course, they do it in Dark Knight Rises. But it feels like from now on, every time there's going to be a longer Batman narrative, his back is going to get broken. Like, he's going to get decimated and have to come back. The death of Superman, 2 90s major events. That keeps coming back in every iteration.
Back again? Well, there's like a reprint or something. There's like something in the last like 2 months of like the death anniversary.
Yeah, it's the anniversary, so they did some interesting comic book promotional stuff. But I just meant it's now the idea from that one comic book narrative. It's like transcended that. It's now part of the Superman narrative that he must die and come back.
Right, like Kid from Krypton, like all those pieces.
All those pieces.
This is now just part of the narrative.
At some point in Batman's,
there's got to be a Dark Phoenix saga.
There's got to be a Dark Phoenix saga.
Right? Like Jean's got to go nuclear.
Yes. Yeah. And we see these pieces that are coming in. I would argue that also like the Magneto redemption arc is part of the larger X-Men. You know, when you zoom out in it, and it becomes like the legend that everyone tells of the X-Men. And there are no comics, and there are no movies, and there is no animated series because we've zoomed out 1,000 years have gone by. Magneto's arc of redemption is going to be part of that. You know, it's just how it's going to play. So I find it interesting to see, like you're saying, which things from various arcs don't make it in, don't become part of the larger.
Like a lot of the run we're reading right now.
Let's start with Gary. Hey, Gary Shipman, Art, how you doing? He says, hello, this was my first time seeing you guys live. Well, we're glad you're here, and we're hoping you're having a great night. And yeah, happy to have you aboard, man. So take a good seat and enjoy the nonsense. Jason Lowe says, to me, my ex-friends. Jason, how are you? Is this an issue that you have? Do you have issue 149 of the wonderful Cockrum and Claremont run with this weird looking face in the background? I was looking closely at this cover today when I was making the image, the promotional image for whatever we call it, the promo image for the live stream, and I wanted to recolor it. I'm like, how much time do I have? Do I have time to do not do this, Jason? Like, do not start recoloring. I just found that I want to just throw it up there so we can see. I had like some beefs with it. I thought Colossus, there should be a different color between him and the ice or crystal or whatever that is.
Yeah.
So that he either pops forward as opposed to blending in, at least his armor form. I thought Nightcrawler's face needed to be, again, something different. Maybe the light is hitting his hair so that the yellow beam is behind his head, not on top of his head. Something to make him stand out. I thought it was just really weak design. And then having all that background, that icy, molten metal, crystal, whatever, be that basically only 2 colors. I thought it was just really kind of lame-o. We could have seen something more interesting. I don't know. That's just my. I would have rearranged some of the colors to make things stand out a little better.
I think that the head shot is cool for the cover, like the back head of Garrock. Or is it Garrock?
Well, we can. I think it's Garrock.
With the peanut gallery, I think Garrock. Anyway,
Gary Shipman says the first X-Men comic I got at a 7-Eleven was issue 137. Phoenix was dead. Oh man!
Welcome to the X-Men.
Yeah, what a place to get on board. Like the climax of the whole thing, amazing. That's a double-sized issue too, I think, or at least a longer issue. Jason says nope. But if it's cool enough through this episode, I'll pick it up for $5.
You've seen it in back issue bins.
I got this one actually from one of my oldest friends, Paul. He did not collect comics, but he had a couple. And once I was like way into collecting comics, he just kind of handed it over.
He had the complete Garrock run because he's a huge.
He was a hardcore Garrock.
Paul is the largest. He makes his own Garrock figures. Guy's a fan.
Yeah. Now Marvel Legends is going to make like a Garrock Build-A-Figure, and you're going to have to get that. You're going to have to spend like $150 to get all the individual figures just to have this stone-faced figure haunt you. We're ruining the issue, by the way, by spoiling the surprise of who that is.
Well, hey.
He hasn't been introduced yet. We just see a face. We don't know where this is.
I guess. But if you've been,
Garrock.
It's Garrock. But as people have been following along, this is, they previously were in the Savage Land where they meet Garrock for the first time. And for me, it's like, I knew, and again, I haven't read these comics, but as soon as I saw that face. So if you're a reader of the X series at this time, you'll recognize the return of Garrock.
I agree that you'll recognize for sure. But it's exciting that they're venturing back somewhere. And
Yeah.
this cover also has a shocking, shocking costume for Kitty
Oh my
Pryde.
goodness! First time I saw this, I threw up in my face. It threw up, hit the screen, and back again.
So we'll hold off on that, and we'll get into the issue. And when it comes up,
What?
we'll talk about it. Okay?
Please.
Jason Lowe says, "P.S. Toys R Us has a 30% off on Marvel Legends figs. I picked up 2 multiple mans and Avalanche.
Ooh, that Avalanche.
I'm so excited for you that you got 2 multiple mans and
Jason, how
Avalanche.
many multiple mans do you now have, by the way?
He has the most important one, which is the mirror himself.
Right.
I need to get both of those, but I don't want to go to Toys R Us right now. But I might have to. That's like essential. Both of those are essential figures for me to get. So
Cool. Yeah, I mean, what you got to get? Those are, yeah. That Avalanche looks pretty cool, too. I mean, for like a
yeah.
Brotherhood, it seems pretty spot on.
Oh, yeah, for sure. For sure. Anything else you want to talk about before we get into it?
No, I think we just kind of 7 or 8.
Jason
Yeah,
says,
multiple.
He has 7 or 8 multiple mans.
All right, that's cool.
I just have one of the Marvel Universe 3 3/4 size.
Is that the green with the yellow dots? I don't know if that's the suit.
Yeah. Mojo's only $50. Oh man, you're killing me.
That's a big one, right?
It is a larger figure. Jason's working for
you gotta find that all night Toys R Us
at the moment. Sorry, what's that, Chris?
You gotta find that all night Toys R Us after this. Just
yeah, it's gonna kill me, man. I love
Garrock figures. Sir,
I love my Marvel Legends, as you know. But I did recently somehow acquire a Thor. And I know you're gonna be like, "That's Thor." I'm like, "Yeah, it's Thor." This is a Thor as a what's the word when you're what do you call it for Galactus? You're a herald.
Oh,
this is herald. Thor as a herald for Galactus, and like I like that.
Didn't you know that happened?
Hammer is like fully charged,
right?
And
Power cosmic or whatever.
Yeah, he's all cosmiced up. And he's got his, I mean, move his golden locks here. You can see he's got his name on Norse rune.
Yeah, the rune,
for Thor. That rune is called, Thorn. And he's got really long hair, kind of elf-like a little bit, but he's beefy. And it was on sale, and I couldn't resist getting another Thor figure.
We talked about this the other day. How many Thors? It doesn't matter. That's another conversation. How many people?
We were counting, and this has come since that conversation.
We didn't even talk about him, so you've just added to that conversation. That's the best part.
Yes, exactly.
It wasn't the original list.
Thor is a girl. He is a little feminine in the fact that his face is. He is a prettier version. I agree. Maybe it's sort of like a streamlined, more angelic kind of take on the character. But I just couldn't say no. I love my Thors. I got some manly Thor figures too, so I figure I could, a little bit of this, a little bit of that. All good.
Nice.
All right.
Shall we?
I love the logo colors on this one, like how it works with.
It does.
The purple of Garrock's face and the yellow of the logo look just great together. Mm-hmm. Really good. Blue and the red / orange. It looks great.
Okay.
All right, sir.
Here we go.
I'm not just looking at the difference in our scan versus the one in my hand. I like seeing the comparison. Sometimes the colors are slightly different or just more vibrant one way or the other. But nothing worth noting. But still a little subtle thing. I like the X-Men all in green in the background. It just pushes them all back. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Instead of if you color all the elements. I also love when the characters are in their regular clothing. I love when characters power up into their costumes. And so, therefore, you have to start them not powered up. So, I'm a fan. And the dead shall bury the living. To the world at large, Charles Xavier is a brilliant, iconoclastic scientist and teacher, one of the foremost authorities on human genetics, founder of the School for Gifted Youngsters in Salem Center, New York. Remembering, everyone, that this is the mandate from Marvel Comics at the time, from Jim Shooter, the editor-in-chief himself, that every comic is somebody's first. So therefore, you have to explain who everybody is every single time. Nothing left to the imagination or left to individual research. A select few know that he is also a mutant, probably the most powerful telepath on Earth, and that his school serves as headquarters for the band of mutant superheroes established by him in part to protect humanity from the depredations of outlaw mutants.
Yes.
Chris Claremont loves his run-ons. I can deconstruct what the word depredations means, but I don't think I've ever heard that word aloud.
Well,
I see the word predator in
you
there.
just heard it.
What's that?
You just heard it.
Yes, I did. I also like how Professor X has like a pocket protector action going.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, you got it, right?
Over the years, the Uncanny
World.
X-Men have had their share of success and failure, triumph and tragedy. Of late, Xavier has become convinced that they will soon face their greatest test against the one foe the current team has never defeated. Speaking of foes I've never defeated,
Yes.
hello, Trevor 1-6 Shooter. Hey, dudes. Hope you're getting some nice holiday-themed weather in the New York area. So they did not defeat Magneto. They faced him twice.
Mm-hmm.
Yes?
Mm-hmm.
Once in, I think, issue 104. Oh, I think we're actually going to get a recap.
Oh, we do. We get a full recap.
Full recap. Graydon says that Professor Xavier is looking good in a collared button-up. Yeah. He's rocking Graydon James styles. Happy birthday to your boy, by the way. So just for a side note there, Graydon and you and I all had kids within 6 weeks. It was a nice run. First Graydon's, then yours, then mine. So we've all got these little kids turning 12 or just turned 12, which is lovely. Yeah, very exciting. So happy birthday to Simon. Magneto, Professor Xavier would say.
Yes.
I call him now Magneto. Origin unknown. Although his... this is bad.
Yeah.
Although his features are Caucasian, probably Nordic antecedents, unknown. Master of magnetism, able to manipulate awesome energies with childish ease. Unlike me, he believes that Homo sapiens and Homo superior can never live together in peace. For those who don't know, Homo superior is the Marvel phrase that describes mutants. They think of them as a different species. Although, from what biology taught me in high school, if individuals can produce fertile offspring, then they are the same species. If you can produce infertile offspring only, then you are not the same species, but you can get it on.
Fascinating.
But if you can produce the same species, then produce fertile offspring, then you are the same species. Which is why a coyote and a wolf are actually the same species, because they produce fertile offspring that we've nicknamed coy wolves.
Oh yeah, right.
That being said, Homo sapiens and Homo superior are the same species because they can produce fertile offspring. And it makes for really good movies. All right. Already, mutants are feared and hated simply because we exist. If we do not conquer and subjugate humanity, Magneto propounds. I also don't know the word propounds. We will be destroyed, and when that victory is won, Magneto means to rule the world that is left. He was the first evil mutant that the X-Men fought, and to this day remains our deadliest enemy. I had just formed the original team. So we were going back into the mind of Professor X. Cyclops, Beast, Angel, Iceman, and Marvel Girl when he attacked the Cape Citadel missile base. Acting with exceptional courage and skill, my pupils drove him away. That's almost like a little reimagining of cover of X-Men #1.
Mm-hmm. You can see it there.
A mirror and also like much less dynamic, but I guess it's a little thumbnail size, kind of fun. Angel is not carrying the rocket launcher that he has on the
The
original
rocket
cover of
launcher.
X-Men #1. And
Beast is not swinging on a trapeze of unknown origin.
a trapeze anchored to nothing.
That's his superpower.
When next we fought, Magneto had gathered his own team, a brotherhood of evil mutants, consisting of Mastermind, the Toad, Quicksilver, and the Scarlet Witch. Each battle ended with his defeat. One such, at the hands of his own mutant creation, Alpha, resulted in his forced regression to infancy. I thought then that his threat was ended forever. I love the idea that, as comics, as a title passes its hands, or sorry,
Mhm.
as a title passes through the hands of various creators who are then, it's their job to come up with a new story every month or two.
Yes.
They basically throw stuff against the wall to see what sticks, and they try every bit of nonsense you can possibly imagine.
Right.
So every character dies and is then revived, or it's not really dead, it's a twin. Every soap opera trope, every comic book trope gets played. So Magneto is reduced to infancy.
Yeah,
But that was not to be. Alien science resurrected him, restored him to adulthood, even more powerful than before. Our latest confrontation, this time involving the new X-Men, occurred in an installation buried beneath an active Antarctic volcano. All concerned were fortunate to escape with their lives. Great issue, by the way, when that happened.
That was fun.
Creighton says propounds equals British currency. Magneto as a baby stuck. Did it? Is it in other versions of the story that Magneto gets turned into a baby? I wonder. Yeah, the coloring and the border action for sure. It lets you know it's definitely like a flashback with a different tone, and you curve.
Baby Magneto, by the way, Baby Magneto was the champion of those those baby contests. Cutest baby.
Turned him into a newt.
Cutest baby.
They turned him into a newt, and he got better. He got better. Do you know that joke from Monty Python?
I think so.
So in Holy Grail,
mm-hmm.
they want to. There's a bunch of characters that are bloodthirsty. They want to burn a woman because she's a witch.
Burn her. She's a witch. Yeah.
Anyway, moving on.
Oh, that's it. Turned to I got better. That's right. Yeah.
Exactly.
Classic.
It is definitely. Since then, nothing has been heard from Magneto. Why then am I so certain that he is planning some deviltry? Or devil try? I have no proof, only my instincts, and the fact I'm a telepath. I should be able to find him anyway.
Yeah, I know.
Yet I'm sure I'm right. I have come to know the man, how he feels and thinks, and to realize that in a great many ways, in too many ways, Magneto and I are uncomfortably alike. I think that's a really important thing, is they are the kind of yin and yang, right? They have so much in common. Spoiler alert, Claremont and Byrne openly talked that Claremont had a vision for a grand narrative where eventually Xavier dies and Magneto is redeemed and becomes the headmaster of the school. And only through becoming the headmaster and really, I guess ultimately becoming the best version of himself is he ever, he truly redeems himself. And that's sort of Claremont's journey that he wanted to go on by the end of his run. So things are always going to kind of play toward that ending to a degree.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
What came first, Kitty's outfit or Rainbow Bright? Eek.
Clearly Kitty's outfit. Jeez, Jason. Rainbow Bright's at least 1984.
I want a costume that has every color. Yeah. Like every child making a Bristol board sign. Yes. Every letter has to be another color. It drives me up the wall.
Big ass B. Big. You see the John Mulaney bit when he talks about doing the birthday card? But he's like, you start
Yes.
off, you're like a big ass. Oh no, you run out of space.
Did that thought bubble get shoved in? So we're
Yeah.
talking about the one at the bottom. Sorry, in the bottom of the first panel on the page on the right hand side, where he says,
Yeah,
"Magneto
it's
and I are comfortably alike." I don't have the original, any original art to see if this was like added on afterward, but it really is not graphically beautiful. You probably could have gotten away with covering a little bit more of Professor Xavier's forehead. So let's get into this costume because here it is as Kitty
okay.
makes her entrance. So yeah, I put that provocative title on the stream today about, did Dave Cockrum hate Kitty Pride? I wasn't basing that off nothing. Obviously, having a provocative title is a good thing for people in our situation. But I can tell you I'll change the screen for a minute.
Okay.
What? There we are. So I've got this book generously gifted from a friend and patron, our friend Julian, who so generously comes to these events like comic shows and brings gifts, and they're always like the nicest things and such
It's like our own
a fun thing to
personal
come home
Medici.
with. What's that?
He's like our own personal Medici. Right? Medici, patron of the arts, and it's.
So this is a Dave Cockrum art book, and it's like a biography. It's sort of his story, his life and story, and all the interviews with him are kind of compiled into this book. And so it's always neat to sort of see what he has to say about a particular moment in either X-Men history or comic book history. And he talks about this section of his career and coming back onto X-Men. Okay, so he goes on to relate that he didn't enjoy dealing with. He called it like dealing with Kitty Pryde. So when he comes back to the series, Phoenix is gone, obviously. Cyclops is on his way out or has left, pardon me. And there's new characters there that he didn't have a hand in creating. Thinking that, he has a sense of ownership over the new X-Men, right? That group of X-Men are all his designs other than Wolverine. And so he feels a little proprietorship over them. And he's been saddled with this character. And I think about how I felt when I first watched the Clone Wars animated series. The opener was actually a theatrical release of 3 episodes. The first 3 were kind of like a pilot, and they were at theatrical release. And Ahsoka shows up, and she starts calling Anakin Snips. No, he calls her Snips. She calls him Sky Guy.
Sky Guy.
And I was like, I can't wait for her to die.
You're like, she's the worst character of all time. She will never last. It's time.
Right. And now we're 20 years on from that, and I'm like, that's my favorite.
The best character ever to have existed.
She's my favorite Jedi because she goes somewhere. And I think about what Byrne and Claremont put on the page when they introduced Kitty, and she's so positive, but measured. Also, like she takes seriously the situation she's in. She wasn't there to make light. She was like brought in for us to see her journey. And you get that sense that she's going to come in as a 13-year-old, join the team at about 14, and then struggle. But she wasn't meant to be a brat. She was meant to be innocent, and we're watching her. And then, like, in Days of Future Past, this character has the weight of a lifetime of horror thrust on her psychically, and she then becomes her older self in her younger body, and has the weight of the world on her shoulders. So Cockrum calls her the brat. That's how he sees her when he gets to the book. And he really didn't like the idea of having to draw her at first. And he says a running gag during his stint on the book was a constant redesign of her costume. Like he wanted it. He thought this is his idea because of her age. He's saying he concludes that she would experiment with different fashions, and it would bother her teammates because she would try everything, so she's going to come in wearing like a roller skate disco outfit. That's the most garish, horrible thing you've ever seen in your life. And he said, I was trying to concoct a costume that a 13-year-old would think was cool. And he said they got a lot of angry mail about the whole thing. And everyone kept saying as he lost his mind. But he just said, like, in terms of how long it would continue. He's like, as long as we can milk it for a gag, I'm going to keep doing it. So he wasn't taking the character as seriously as a lot of us as kids, took Kitty Pryde, especially 5 years down the road. I'm like, by the time I get to meet the character, I'm 12 or 11 years old, and I think she's awesome. Like, she's one of my favorite characters at that point because she's further on her journey. She's young and she's tough. She goes on some ninja adventures with Wolverine. He trains her. Like, that happens down the road. So I found the character on the other side of that. And this version of her is like, when Cockrum gets hold, he's not taking her seriously. So it bumps up against a lot of us readers that held her in higher esteem.
Mm-hmm.
Make sense?
Yeah.
I'm going to try and follow the chat here too. I don't know what about the Rainbow Bright thing. Did you look it up?
Well, no, because I know Rainbow Bright doesn't show up till later. Rainbow Bright's like 83 or 84 because that's like my prime, not my Rainbow Bright years, but certainly my wife's. So, but also mine too, I suppose. I mean, Rainbow Bright. Right? Rainbow Bright's character sidekick was named Twink. This is really fascinating.
Jason asks, "What do we get in a Marvel Legends fig of that?"
Jason, you read my mind.
You got to make it yourself. Right? It's a kit bash, don't you think?
Yeah. Well, okay, but I think what's really interesting about what you just shared in terms of the kind of some of that retrospective from Cockrum, and later in the page, as we'll read, there's an explanation. There's actually a way that Cockrum can run with this gag, but Claremont has an ability to rein it in and actually put a timeline on it in the later panel, so that it becomes. So this is something I didn't realize. Something that Xavier says later. But I think it's interesting. I mean, it talks about graduation. It just talks about how you're not allowed to choose your own costume until graduation.
Right.
Right. So he is. I mean, who knows? Maybe at that time, Cockrum's like, I'm just going to put her in these ridiculous outfits, and he's like, yeah, fine. But guess what? When she does graduate, she'll have her own costume. But I think it's an interesting, potentially creative conversation between the two of them about reining each other in that way. But secondly, I didn't know from just a purely universal X-verse thing, I didn't realize that, an individual costume has to be earned. It's awarded at graduation. So, you wear those. And I guess that leads into like the New Mutants all wear the same costume, right?
Right.
So, I think that was kind of neat. I didn't realize that was an actual thing.
I think so too. I think it's very cool. And I don't think that was something that we got a chance to see with the new X-Men, because they all came in with their own costumes to begin with. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
There wasn't a period where they wore the uniform. Right.
Which suggests that first team doesn't graduate because they all wear the same costume.
Up until Don Heck changes them in I don't know, maybe the issues that are like.
It could just be a line, but I just think it's an interesting way to determine, to create a line in the sand between student and, because we're always like, how do they keep saying Nightcrawler's a student at this school? Like, come on.
Right.
For sure.
I like the idea though but they would have to retcon that into the other characters, and really what it comes down to is a creative refresh.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
All right. You want to read her lines as she
roller skates in, as I roller skate into this YouTube?
Sure.
Hiya, Professor. Have I got a surprise for you?
My data screens, my computers. What? Kitty!
Presenting the all-new, all-different, altogether stunning Sprite. What do you think, Professor? Pretty snazzy, huh? I really hate that clunky old uniform you gave me. It's positively antique. I figured I'd make some improvements, and...
Catherine Pryde, how often have I told you that I am never to be disturbed without permission when I am working? By phasing through the wall, you completely disrupted my computer circuitry. All the data I had on screen and in temporary storage when you entered the room has been irretrievably lost.
Well, I'm sorry, Professor.
Doesn't he have a backup? Like, what about the cloud, dude? What about the
all
cloud?
the data he was writing down with his pencil? Kitty Pryde.
Catherine. An individual costume has to be earned. It is awarded at graduation, no sooner. Please go, Kitty. I have a great deal to do.
I'm a whiz of computers. I could help you.
You have already done quite enough. I will not tell you again, child, now. Leave now. And use the door this time.
I get the hint, Professor.
It's not a hint. He's directly telling you. A hint would be much more.
But I guess it's the hint because it's in the bubble. It's in the telepathically, right? I guess. He didn't have to use his mental powers to force me out. Isn't he aware that at close range, his telepathic shouts hurt? Unless that was his intention.
Ooh, that's mean. Graydon's.
It is that third panel though when she skates in there. That is holy crap.
Yeah.
I mean, I want to look. We just said you know happy birthday son and we got a couple of 12-year-olds and a few other people on this kids and yes they would dress up but they'd have some. I want to believe a little more coordination.
Yeah. It was ridiculous stuff.
Ridiculous. Coins. Oh, wait. Hey, from skinny loser to big winner. Get your unbeatable body. Perfect. I shall phone tomorrow.
Maybe a bit of a coloring blunder here on this first panel.
With the yellow and the...
Well, the characters that are blue against the yellow works. I mean, they could be in a little bit of dark, and that's fine. But the blue characters against the blue. Poops. Come on.
Yeah, I know. It's hard to see. Yeah.
It doesn't work as well. Nearby, Kitty's fellow X-Men are busy repairing the school's danger room, a task they are beginning to suspect will never end.
Yeah, it's been about 5 issues. 5 issues.
All right, Gary's throwing one at us. This is an inside joke that Chris, I don't think you know yet. Gary,
What?
Chris has not read that far ahead, but we will get there. Professor Xavier is a jerk. That joke will be funny again in
I see.
10 weeks.
Nice. Well, we'll still be doing this in 10 weeks, so that works out.
I definitely hope so.
Never-ending episodes.
But it's very true, isn't it? It's a good line.
He's a jerk.
No, not your bad.
No.
It's good. It's fair because it's like an iconic image that has been actually Chris.
Is it memed?
Within comics, it was memed. Do you remember? Well, I don't know if you remember very well. In Astonishing X-Men, there was like a moment where Kitty comes back to the school. She hasn't been there in a while, and as she walks through the foyer of the mansion, she has some key memories kind of come to mind.
Okay.
And artist John Cassidy recreates this famous splash page.
Okay.
I believe it's Paul Smith who does the original, which we'll get to soon. But yeah, so we kind of you would have come across it in a flashback in recreation. Yeah, so homage to the Joss Whedon run, exactly. But yeah, Cassidy is the artist on that.
I wonder if we come across, I'll be like, oh, that one.
You might. I mean, it's a pretty memorable thing.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Storm goes.
Yes.
Isn't America wonderful, my friend? Where else could a woman revered as an African goddess become a mechanic instead?
Oh, wow.
System 4 checks, Kurt.
Danke, Aurora. You have very low expectations for yourself. That's 4 down and 1,000 to go.
Guys, I know this may be heresy, but why bother? The danger room's supposed to train us, to hone our powers and skills. But the Elf and I accomplished that with our improvised hunts, and they're a heck of a lot more fun.
That's because you always win. I must owe you a couple of dozen cases of beer.
We should be drinking beer, by the way, when we do
We should be
this.
drinking beer.
29 to be precise. And when it comes to the important things in life, namely brew and brats, I'm very precise.
Wolverine.
Buddy.
Just as long as it's a 16-year-old Japanese princess, you creep.
He's precise about it, though.
He is very precise.
The room's purpose is far more extensive than that, Wolverine, and integral to the proper functioning of both the school and the X-Men. Well, look who's phasing through the ceiling. Hello, kitten. She looks miserable.
I wonder if it has anything to do with those outrageous clothes she's wearing. She needs cheering up. I'm not going to go into this anymore, but she's cheering up. So basically, Storm just throws some wind at her to knock her off balance, and sends her flying into the group because when someone's really down, throw them upside down with your wind powers.
Yeah, and then be tossed around like an acrobat.
Right, and of course the X-Men love to play, and they're all very skilled folk. So she gets blown toward Nightcrawler. Go, if you want to go ahead.
Sure. Relax your body, Katchen, and I'll show you how we used to do this in the circus. Alley, oop. Over to you, Logan.
Much obliged, bub.
Wolverine.
Pumpkin, I hate to say it, but we got to stop meeting like this. I think your boyfriend's getting suspicious. Catch, Colossus.
Boyfriend? I haven't got... oh, hi, Peter.
I rest my case. By the way, kid, what are you wearing?
It's a new X-Men costume I designed. Do you like it? I think it's neat. I think it's absolutely...
Oh, sorry, I was not looking. You're right.
Ow! Ow! If you cannot say anything nice, Kurt, say nothing. Verstehen?
Verstehen, yeah. Suddenly.
An astral projection of Professor Xavier appears before them. I love the idea of floating heads. It's so much fun. X-Men, report to the briefing room. I have an important mission for you. Get me a pizza.
Pizzas.
So there really isn't much information about, what the mission is. It just gets retold sort of by Storm as they take off. I've also always had an issue with Cockrum's design of this SR-71 Blackbird, which looks nothing like this.
Yeah, it's
just so stubby.
Yeah, it's too stubby. Yeah.
I mean, it's a cool jet on its own, but if you're going to basically say what airplane it is, maybe use a photo reference once in a while. I feel like he must have seen a photo that was taken in an extreme perspective, so that was like the foreshortening was extreme, so you couldn't see how long the fuselage actually is. I happen to have a die cast. Like I'm not kidding. When I was 13, my school took a trip to Ottawa, and we went to the museum there, and I bought a die cast, not model, but like a toy, I guess, of an SR-71 Blackbird because of the X-Men. I wanted it so badly,
right?
And they're really beautiful. Anyway, yeah, Jason makes a really good point here. He's like, "Have you ever heard of Google Images, Cockrum? Like, come on, man, it's so easy. Just find it and trace it." So the team is headed in their hypersonic speed. They're headed toward the bottom of the Earth from their obviously U.S. centric point of view. They're specially modified SR-71 Blackbird. And Storm says, "This is a reconnaissance mission, nothing more. But suppose we find something. Suppose we find Magneto. What can the four of us do?" You make a really good point, Storm. What can the four of you do?
Keep getting beaten.
Totally get your butts kicked if he's there. Of course, we as readers, if you've been following along, we know that he is in the Bermuda Triangle with Cyclops for some reason.
That's right.
We don't know why, but the team is on their way there. And she talks about how she wishes Angel was there, but he's kind of taken off. He's pissed off because he doesn't want to be a teammate with Wolverine. Wolverine is unpredictably violent. Although this portrayal of him in this issue, he's so happy.
It's true.
And his sideburns are so long.
So long.
Yeah, they're like, yeah, anyway. So Storm doesn't want that to continue. And the boys are playing cards.
Yeah. Gentleverish.
Again? This is flaming embarrassing.
Would you care for another game?
Are you kidding? I know when I'm being hustled. The way you play cards, Petey, I'm glad I never touch a poker. I ain't used to losing. I think I'll drown my sorrows in a brew and sandwich chaser. Anyone else want munchies? Holy moly! Surprise, surprise. Look who's snoozing in the storage locker. Rise and shine, pumpkin.
Huh? Hey, let go of me, you big bully.
Like that kind of dialogue. I don't find that consistent with who the character was before.
Yeah.
I feel like they're like Claremont is writing her to the way she looks, as opposed to writing to the character that he co-created.
Right.
Watch the mouth, kid. Group, I believe we have here what is referred to in the trade as a stowaway.
And of
What the name are you
course,
doing here?
she decided to come along for the ride?
That isn't funny, Kurt.
I'm an X-Men, aren't I? And this is an X-Men mission. Why should I get left behind?
Because you're an X-Man in training.
Well, no one said I couldn't go. Besides, this is a scouting mission. What could happen?
Kitty, the mutant we're after is Magneto. Compared to him, the entire Hellfire Club is nothing but a collection of fifth-rate amateurs. Amateurs. I'm sorely tempted to turn this aircraft around and take you home, young woman. Oh my God.
Mm-hmm.
Even though we've nearly reached our destination, but the professor said that time was of the essence. Kitty, this is not a game.
I know. Don't be angry, Roro. No, I was gonna say that this whole thing I love, and later on they ask Roro's like, Wolverine, use your patented scent to find our way around here. Meanwhile, his scent cannot pick up Kitty in the storage locker.
Yeah, we're not going to bring that up, right? So do you know about the Marvel No Prize?
No. What is that?
So there are so many plot holes
Okay.
and inconsistencies in old Marvel comics that there used to be something called a No Prize, where a fan would write in, point out the inconsistency,
right,
and include the explanation for why it still makes sense. And if they could do it in a convincing or playful enough manner, they would be awarded a No Prize.
Wow.
And so you have to come up with, well, why doesn't Wolverine? Why don't the senses pick her up?
Right.
And if you can come up with an answer, then you win the No Prize.
Right.
And there is an amazing, amazing issue, which I think was just a one shot. And I don't remember the title of it. It might have just been like the official Marvel No Prize issue, where it was a collection of bloopers of things that either were scripted wrong or drawn incorrectly that made it to print, that are just like the most egregious errors to see print in Marvel Comics. And I have that issue, and it was such a treat to read through it and have a laugh at some of the things. Like Miller once drew not a Morlock, but a character in the sewers in the Daredevil run that has 2 feet that are the same foot on different legs.
Okay.
So or I mean, I guess there was a really fun moment, which was the climax of the issue, where Captain America is battling maybe Batroc, a character where he's basically outmatched, or he's at his end, and he says only one of us is going to make it out of here alive, and he throws a huge punch. And he yells, "And it won't be me!" Like, oh.
All your bases are,
dude.
Yeah,
that was sort of like the most famous one in the issue, but it was all a series of things like that. And it won't be me, as he throws the greatest punch. I have to track that one down and let you look through, because it's really fun to see the mistakes that get made.
That is pretty funny.
Yeah, it's a great issue. I'm surprised they haven't done that one on kayfabe yet. So I don't know how much of this you find needs to be included here, but I want to just point out one thing, because we do talk about connections to other media. The idea of initially, like the idea of the young X-Men female joining the team, and how we see the team through the new member. Right. I feel like that is a trope in all across a wide range of stories, but in the comics, it's Kitty Pryde at this point. In the animated series, it's obviously Jubilee. Yeah. And in the movies, it's Rogue.
It's Rogue. Yeah.
So I think that's kind of fun how it's less important as to what member it is, but the idea of there being a young girl that gets introduced to the team, and
it's interesting. You're right. It's considering it's the start of the journey of the arc of all of those. You know, the first X-Men film is Rogue. The first episode of X-Men animated series Jubilee, and then if we want to talk about the start of this, the first with Kitty Pryde, yeah, that's a wild bit of consistency there.
And to add to it, of course, and I'm sure those who have seen it in the chat will support me on this one. Pride of the X-Men, the animated pilot, which eventually becomes the X-Men animated series, even though the pilot is about 3 years earlier, maybe even 4 years earlier. This scene, it's Kitty that joins the team then. She's the new character. Right. So we see everyone through her eyes, like these issues. And she does the stowaway in the Blackbird bit.
Oh, okay.
On her way to Magneto's base.
Right.
Which is great. So I felt like, yeah, there's a very direct line between this issue in that respect and that animated episode, which I love that episode again because it was such a formative piece and there was nothing else like it. And for all of its faults, it is a pilot, so it has to include.
Yeah, we're gonna do the show, aren't we? We talked about doing that.
I would love to. to. We could do it anytime that we. Yeah, there's
no holidays. We got the holidays coming up.
Sure, man. We can do that.
Yeah.
It means like next week. We could actually watch it live.
That's what I'm thinking.
While we're doing this.
Yeah.
And record like a commentary track.
Exactly.
Yeah. Anyway, here we go. So, little one, I do not want to see you hurt or killed, or us hurt or killed, because of your lack of experience and training.
Storm?
Yes, Nightcrawler.
Pardon my interruption, but we've arrived.
That's awkward, huh?
Yes. That's a live volcano.
Is that talking now?
I think it's.
How do we?
No, it's Colossus. Oh no, it's the Nightcrawler. You're right, because you can see his head there. See, this is a good example. Like we can't even tell who's talking, right?
Right.
That's a live volcano. True, Kitty. Magneto's old base is buried beneath it. How do we get inside? On our last visit, Catchin, aboard a flying carnival wagon, Magneto dropped us right into the cauldron, and we floated down through 1,000 meters of molten lava. You're kidding, aren't you? Kurt, we aren't going to do that, are we? It's Wolverine.
What's the matter, Pumpkin? Yeah, I can only tell because of that, right?
The Pumpkin, yeah. Mm.
What's the matter, Pumpkin? Having second thoughts about tagging along?
And then that's Nightcrawler.
Yeah, that's Nightcrawler. Texas Parker, Kitty. Your old costume may have been unattractive, but at least it was insulated.
They've talked about her costume being stupid so many times.
Exactly.
What do you think Claremont's trying to say?
Unattractive.
Yeah, I find it really interesting that this is the most unclear dialogue has been with layout.
Yeah.
And I also think it's fun that like Wolverine doesn't wear the parka.
No,
and Storm doesn't either because she can control the weather, obviously.
Sure.
So she's so selfish to not share her powers. And I love that he says, we got aboard. We went through the volcano through a flying carnival wagon.
Circus carnival wagon.
Because that doesn't need more explanation, does it?
Yeah, I love it.
So for those who haven't read that issue or didn't see that episode of our stream, obviously you can go back and watch it. But Magneto puts a force field around the X-Men. It's such a long story. But he captures the X-Men while they were at a carnival and all brainwashed. And he transports them across the globe, and then in a force field goes down through a live volcano. And of course, they can't fight him because if he loses his focus, they're all going to be incinerated. It was a really neat visual too.
Yeah.
Anyway,
it was cool. It's like volcano-based layer, right? It's very James Bond. It was great.
It was fantastic. There's the tunnel.
Thanks, Kurt. Storm, what's that?
When the walls were breached and the lava flooded Magneto's complex, we were separated. The four of us, plus Cyclops and Banshee, descended to the Savage Land. while Phoenix blasted an escape route to the surface for herself and the Beast. This is back in X-Men 113. Thanks, Louise. Each group mistakenly thought the other was dead. If only we'd stayed together. If only. Wolverine, you have the keenest senses. You take the point. And then he says from the same word balloon.
Same word balloon, yeah.
Gotcha, Storm.
Yeah.
I'm. Kid, you're still wearing those flaming roller skates.
No problem, Wolverine. I'm walking on air and not the snow. They don't bog me down.
So if someone doesn't know her powers well, she can phase through objects and has the ability to not phase through things too. So while she can pass through solid objects, she can also float on the air as she passes through. So when she turns her like phase power on, she doesn't just fall, or isn't just doesn't just succumb to the force of gravity or gravity's pull. So am I right in having trouble reading that? Like those were two different characters speaking.
Yeah.
And also, I don't understand Wolverine's first sentence. Gotcha, Storm. I
guess he's on his way to take the point. I don't know.
And then it's just distracted by her clothing.
I guess.
All right.
That's her. Have we reached the bottom?
Looks like it. Storm, want me to cut through the wall?
Her response is great. Let Colossus
do it. If there is lava on the other side, he'll be the least vulnerable to it. No, he will melt. And so, after the Russian X-Men transmutes his body from flesh and blood to super strong organic steel, our heroes soon find themselves in a place they remember all too well. Strange. The lava entered from above. By rights, this chamber should have been filled to the brim.
At least the volcano keeps things well heated.
It's so hard to tell who's speaking. I think this is Nightcrawler.
Nightcrawler. Has you noticed only certain rooms have been cleaned out, certain machines exposed, as if this was a phenomenally selective lava flow? And then somebody else, I guess.
Storm. Or someone else has visited here since our battle.
And that's Wolverine.
I wonder who. I wonder why. But I wonder who more.
I still wonder why. Storm. Kitty, if you must skate, do so on air. Those wheels make too much noise on the floor. A deaf man could hear you coming. Okay, so if this is the cartooning, right?
You don't say ableist much, Storm. That's all I'm gonna say.
Show us the sound effects. Like show us that there's a squeak. You know what I mean? Or some kind of clank. Like I don't know. They can do better. I find this is just particularly weak. Mm-hmm. It's really, really awkward and clunky for us to get through all of this.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting pink power glow around Colossus and Wolverine below.
Yeah,
with the Wolverine one, for sure. Like on the claws, they want to sort of show that something happens, with there's some energy or whatever. Just like put some emphasis on it. With Colossus punching through the wall, I think it looks great.
Yeah.
Like that one in panel 2 on that page, I think it's very effective.
Storm, all of you, look. It's the robot Magneto built to care for us when we were his prisoners. Alas, poor Nanny. I knew her, Horatio, a robot of infinite jest.
Bull! A mental command. Extend Wolverine's claws.
There's like a lazy snicked in there too, like just barely visible.
There, yeah.
They're forged of unbreakable adamantium, honed to razor keenness, and Wolverine knows how to use them to deadly effect. My only regret, bub, is that I'm cutting the robot and not the slime who built her.
So this nanny robot was programmed to serve the X-Men's base needs while they were restrained and unable to even move. So she was feeding them and I don't know, cleaning them and changing them or whatever, but they were completely incapacitated, but they were conscious. And so her presence was like a torture for them, or she became a bit of a visual symbol of their torture because they were prisoners for so long. So Wolverine he doesn't really like being held captive.
And they got to show Wolverine go berserk once an issue.
Yeah,
right. It's
true. It's like a quota.
Yeah.
Obligatory lose your temper scene.
Exactly. It's usually, and it's always with Nightcrawler.
Right.
Right. He's always there, and it's like he pops his claws. You know, like Nightcrawler's like, Wolverine's a phones for you. He's like, what'd you say, Elf?
Eventually, there has to be like an intervention where they're like, what do you have against Nightcrawler? Nothing. Well, maybe you don't know this, but 33 times in the last 12 days, you threatened to gut him like a pig. Exactly. Is it something about his accent? Is it his skin color? No. Like, no, yes. We've documented all these times where you are demonstratively more abusive to him than any other human being on the planet. He's kind of your best friend. What's going on there? I don't want to talk about it. Okay. Anyway, none of us have pleasant memories of our confinement here, Wolverine. But none of us can go off half-cocked either. We need full cock from everybody.
I was just about to say, we can't go half-cocked.
Can't go half-cocked. All right. To facilitate our exploration of the complex, we'll have to separate. Sprite?
I'll go with Peter.
Just go disappear.
Yeah. You and your ugly costume shall go disappear now. I'll go with Peter. I mean Colossus. Do not worry, Storm. I will take excellent care of her. And I'll keep him out of trouble, too. Look how young she looks there.
Yep.
Like, that's your thing, too, right? Is like that, you're right, that kind of, that bratty-ish kind of approach. It's like, no, she's played so young here. And looks so young. When we just saw her take on like a demon all by herself on Christmas Eve.
Right.
A few issues ago. Yeah. Come on, Colossus. How about we go this way? Do vidania, my friends, and wish me luck.
I find even these word balloon shapes suck.
Yeah.
So there is an unusual letterer.
I was going to say, who's lettering this?
Janice Chang.
Okay.
And I don't know her except for, the last couple issues, but it does not look like the same pro job. Like it's not as clear. The shapes aren't as nice. Someone's cutting their teeth. Let's just assume, give them the benefit of the doubt,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Trevor points out, he's like, well, Wolverine would have fought Germans a couple times, right? Yeah, good point. At the same time, he's fought everybody. So, yeah, I don't think, obviously, I'm not trying to say that he really does have a thing against Nightcrawler. I think he's just a convenient punching bag, right? He's like a scapegoat for Wolverine's temper. I shouldn't be concerned. Kitty is in the safest of hands with Peter, even though he's way too old for her. And this is a creepy pattern that's happening in my comic book team. But I still wish she was with me. Oh, do you want to read Garrock? Do you want to do some kind of creepy voice?
Yeah. Try it on. By the black deep, my prayers have been answered. It is she. I could destroy her where she stands, but that would be too quick, too easy. Her torment must be as exquisite as my own. Storm, Aurora, Wind Rider.
What's that? Who calls my name?
Have you so soon forgot him who you murdered?
Garrock! Because she's only murdered one person.
That's right. Wait, you have to be more specific.
He was an ordinary man, transfigured by ancient arcane forces into a living god. He was also quite mad. He had syphilis. He sought to conquer the savage land, a vast unspoiled prehistoric wilderness, nestled within Antarctica's Eternity Mountain Range. By the way, I've always wanted to hear a good concise explanation or description of what the Savage Land is. So
Mhm.
I could repeat it. That's the best one I've ever heard. A vast, unspoiled prehistoric wilderness nestled within Antarctica's Eternity Mountain Range. Perfect. Well done, Claremont. At the climax of his battle with the X-Men, he was hurled into a great thermal pit that stretched downward virtually to the center of the Earth. And I'm going to just put out there, the best Garrick artist of all time is Art Adams. I'm just going to put that out there. Let you all digest that one, see if you agree or disagree. Storm went after him. He'd pushing against me, forcing me to tack?
To tack.
What does that mean?
I don't know.
Forcing me to tack. That takes us deeper into the shaft. Oh, no. No, I mustn't think about that. Think about what, Storm?
Jeez, Storm.
Going half cocked deep into the shaft? What? Life is in peril. That's what's important. So she dives after Garrick when he fell into the pit. And almost there. Heat, fumes affecting me. It's so hard to breathe. Reach, man, reach. I want to yell that in real life at some point soon. Images collided in her mind, Garrick's eyes mirroring the ancient terror within her. Without meaning to, she hesitated and was lost. In that instant, Storm was no more. There was only Aurora, a child, whose private hell was and is the fear of dying alone, buried in the dark. That was months ago. Yet the memories are as fresh, as clear, as if it had only just happened. It does no good to tell myself I tried my best. I was afraid, and because of my fear, a man died, or so I thought. There is no one nearby. Could it be a ghost? Worse, could I be imagining things? I best use my radio micro transceiver to check with the others. Wolverine, are we alone down here? Have your enhanced senses spotted anything unusual?
Have your enhanced senses that do not work in the air at 5,000 feet, yet work here on the ground, spotted anything unusual?
He looks really happy in this picture, too.
Yeah, this is a happy Wolverine issue.
Negative, Storm. Heard nothing. Seen nothing. Smelt nothing. Except us, of course. This place is as quiet as a tomb.
Thank you. I wish that made me feel more reassured. I wish I had a giant Slurpee from 7-Eleven.
Slurpee. Here we go. The first one, it's Kitty, I guess. What are we supposed to be looking for? Anything out of the ordinary. Peter, this whole place is out of the ordinary. It is huge too, covering 8 cubic kilometers. I have done the math in my head. Soon after our battle with Magneto, lava exploded the main power generators. We assume the blast destroyed the entire complex.
All right, I gotta comment on the lettering again. There really is. There's some super crappy penmanship here. So the bubble is completely sealed.
Yeah.
On Kitty's first line.
Yep.
Then there's a tail that connects it to her second sentence.
Oh yeah, I see that.
And her second sentence is sealed too. And then the little, like, the tail that connects them is just like its independent thing. Although it is, I just want to look to see if it's inked. It's inked with about the same thickness as the other stuff. But it's messy line. The curves aren't nice. Like, this looks like I did it.
Nice. That's the best.
It's not good at all.
It's like straight up from Seven Comics.
Yeah, well, the early ones at least. I'm digital now with lettering. Generally, I'm digital with lettering. Although I do like to play. But this is like this is an X-Men comic, the #1 selling comic for Marvel. Eagle award winning, but yeah, really stinky.
Yeah,
really stinky. Like, anyway.
So then she says, so much for that theory. I wonder how much remains intact. Beats me, but if speed is the essence, I can cover a lot of ground in record time. I've been practicing. Practicing what? Not to break your neck? What? Pooh? Yeah, Pooh? You're just jealous. Can you do better? I am a man who knows his limitations. Look, no more tunnel. Want me to phase through and see what's on the other side? No. Feel the wall. It is hot. I think the beyond is molten lava. Oh, right. Right, volcano. I will context it. Tell her we both found... Ah! Peter, someone hit him, but who? No!
And we get this awesome reveal of like a half sludge monster, half crystal, Garrock. When last we saw him, he was completely made of rock. Like he put the rock in Garrock.
Yeah.
Behold, child, the ruin of a living god. Behold, Garrock.
Jeez.
I am keeper of this place, charged, nay, condemned by Magneto to defend it against all intruders. Do not resist me, child, or attempt to escape. Neither will succeed. I offer a quick death.
Thanks a lot. I hope you won't be too upset if I turn you down.
The child passing right through me. Ah!
I heard him, but now I phased through people before. Never felt a thing. Why was Garrock different? Peter, wake up. Come on, move, please. I can't raise anyone on my radio. There's too much static.
Never have I experienced such sensations. You will pay for that, child. When I smash this wall, I will survive the lava flow, and Colossus might survive too. But will you? Aurora!
So even on her first set of thoughts about, like, I heard him, but how?
Yeah.
The little clouds don't go to her. Like, I can see that they're supposed to, but they're so unclear that the colorist misses it.
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah.
Come on, X-Men.
Come on, X-Men. Get some bubble gum in there.
I'm complaining about lettering. That scream! Kitty! There's a pressure shift in the air. Something's pushing it toward me. And the temperature is shooting up. Oh, goddess, no. Oh, no. Must be a volcano. The shield wall must have been breached. Lava is flooding the complex. Kitty, if she was in its path, I cannot solely think of my dear one. I must act to save us all. I'll pull in a wind from outside, generating the highest speeds and lowest temperatures possible, and hurl it up the tunnel at the lava flow. And look at this Wolverine's mask action going here. Gripes, the least Storm could have done before whipping up a hurricane was give us a little warning. Wolverine's the tail on his bubble is also drawn over.
Mm-hmm.
Pal. Oh, hang on, pal. You feel the heat flash before the wind started? If there's lava in the tunnels and she's trying to stop it, there's no telling how much power she'll need. Sooner than either X-Men expects, however, the tempest ends as abruptly as it began. Everything is coated in ice. It is so beautiful, and the lava flow has cooled and solidified. We are safe. But what of Peter and Kitty? Wolverine! Nightcrawler, I need your help. What's that hissing sound? Colossus, frozen solid, skidding across the floor. He's so close, coming so fast. Oof!
That's actually pretty funny. She gets hit by frozen Colossus.
Yeah. He came too fast.
Yeah.
Is she hurt?
Stunned. You any good at climbing ice?
I'll never know until I try. Why?
Someone threw Petey out that tunnel. And that lava flow was probably no accident either. I figure we're facing Magneto himself, or one of his flunkies. Find cover, Elf. We got company.
I've got another death to add to your butcher's bill, Storm. That of a child, overwhelmed and consumed by molten rock. Compared to what is in store for you, hers was the gentlest of ends. Unconscious Storm, what a pity. You are making things too easy for me. The child is dead, and you and Colossus lie helpless before me. That leaves 2 of your party unaccounted for. No doubt they're already moving into position to attack me. They think they have the advantage because they can function in pitch darkness. Alas, I have the power to remove that darkness.
Ooh.
Half of our foe's body is formed of misshapen rock. The other of crystal, and that half is glowing like a star. The ice formations created by Storm's blizzard are acting like mirrors, lighting every nook and cranny as bright as day. It's blinding me, leaving me nowhere to hide.
He loves his nooks and crannies.
I see you, Nightcrawler, and what Garrock sees and Garrock likes. He slays. Garrock, aren't you supposed to be dead yourself? Thanks, the disintegrator beams he fires from his eyes have lost none of their potency.
As the energy bolt slices toward him, poof, Nightcrawler teleports from the ceiling to the one place where Garrock cannot blast him.
I was rescued, pulled at the last instant from the oblivion I yearned for, by Magneto.
Okay.
Yes,
Well,
right.
if eternal peace is what you crave, I'll be more than happy to oblige you.
Your cursed claws cannot harm me, cretin.
He ain't kidding. Where I tagged him, his crystal skin regenerated itself almost immediately. Meanwhile, nearby,
Air! I'm in the cavern again, and I'm alive. I took the deepest breath I could and phased before the lava hit me. I was so scared. I didn't know what would happen. I thought I was going to die. But I didn't die. And that was worse, because I knew that I didn't dare let my concentration lapse, even the tiniest bit. Moving through the rock was like swimming through mud, but I made it out. I survived. Of all the silly, careless, laughable, dumb things to do, especially at a time like this, getting around on skates is a lot harder than Dazzler makes it look. I can't hear anything. No voices, no sounds of a fight. That's bad. The X-Men have beaten Garrock. They'd be over here looking for me. If he's beaten them, well, I guess it's up to me to save the day.
as Kitty moved silently, skating on air instead of the floor, towards the complex's central chamber.
There, it is done. A miniature version of the pit to which I fell months ago. Into it, I shall hurl a storm, and there will be no one to save her at the last instant, as Magneto did me.
I'm just gonna talk here.
Sure.
I'm bored. I find this fight boring. I don't know if you do. And I have a possible explanation, but I'll save it till the end.
Okay. Yeah, really going through the motions here.
Yep.
You want to skip ahead, man? Or?
No. I think we're at an important part, kind of.
Okay. No. Oh no. I really must practice my landings. The last one nearly. Sprite! Storm! Wake up, you two. Storm's about to be killed. Wolverine, throw me at Garrick as hard as you can.
Was it?
Don't argue, there's just no time. Do it! When I phased through Garrick before, I threw him for a loop. I hope I can do it again.
So, in theory, like this moment, those are like the two panels of her being fastball specialed.
Is it with her? It's like a softball special?
So, with this throw and the
Yes.
next panel of her passing through, these are like the two most climactic like fight moments of the issue.
Mm-hmm.
Either one of these should be twice the size, and at least the first one is dynamic. There's that big
contrast between their sizes. Like obviously she's flying right at the camera, so to speak. But the one where she goes through him, like that couldn't be more boring. It's gotten exciting just because there's those action lines, but it doesn't really have a lot of dynamism to it as a drawing. Her ploy is successful. Garrock is shaken to the core of his being. Doesn't look like it though, but like if that's supposed to be that he's shaken to his core, then give me some meat to go with that description, please. But as Nightcrawler struggles to free Storm from his grasp, as Wolverine and Colossus charge forward, Garrock hurls the X-Men aside, and with a mad, triumphant laugh, leaps with her into the pit. I find Claremont is giving more explanation than he usually does as to the action.
Maybe that's on purpose.
I think it is. I think he's writing this after he's scripting it after seeing the art.
Yeah.
I think he's describing things that we normally would be able to see. So he leaps into the pit with her.
Yeah.
They all yell,
Storm! Mine act mine, it cannot be.
Shut up, all of you. I thought I heard something.
Are you certain, Wolverine? I cannot see anything. Storm, why does she not answer? Aurora!
Not surprising. Storm's costume's non-reflective, but I heard a woman's voice, a groan.
She probably can't answer, Peter. One of us has to go down after her. I think I'm the best choice. Nightcrawler would be as impossible to see in those shadows as Storm. Well, all the shiny stuff in my costume ought to reflect our flashlights being for quite a ways.
Oh, so the costumes come in handy now.
What do you think, Wolverine? Guys?
Go with it, Pumpkin, and good luck.
Thanks. This is so weird. A year ago, I was your basic suburban teenage whiz. And now look at me. I wonder what the gang in Deerfield would say if they knew, oh, I found her. She's alive but unconscious and on a really tiny ledge. The slightest move could knock her off. I'll need Nightcrawler's help. And that's Garrock, right?
yeah,
If the misfit were to arrive in an instant, child, he would still be too late to save you. Garrock!
Instinctively, as Garrock lunges forward, Kitty phases, her body becoming as ephemeral as smoke. And then the man turned god turned demon screams as he loses his precarious balance and plummets to the end he had so gleefully meant for Storm. It is a sight, a sound, a memory that will haunt Kitty Pryde for the rest of her days, just like the sight of her costume haunted Garrock all the way down that deep,
The costume,
deep
I cannot.
shaft.
Yeah. Wow.
The ledge, crumbling. Can I phase and walk on air while carrying someone? I don't know. This is no time to try to find out. Throw me a rope, guys, fast, or we'll fall. So no rope catching, and I can't climb it up either. The rock was too fragile and crumbly to support my weight. I'm afraid I've no choice but to return to Aurora, the way I came. Gert, Lennon's ghost, he screams.
Catch him, Petey.
The strain of teleporting with Storm must have nearly killed her, my friend. It's more clause.
Colossus from the hole.
Yeah. I will ensure that your pain and sacrifice were not in vain.
The toss did the trick, big fella. They're safe.
Later,
Back in the mansion.
now everything's done somehow, even though Kitty's still in the pit. Isn't
Yeah.
she?
Yeah.
But we're just going to skip ahead. It's all good. Mid-page, just like, yep, okay, on edit. Later, aboard the Blackbird, after Kitty rejoins the team and Storm and Nightcrawler begin to recover from their ordeal, Magneto went to considerable trouble to excavate and protect his complex. I think those facts alone confirm Professor Xavier's fears. Magneto is up to something.
Yeah, but what? And when is he going to strike? And where? And most important of all, darling,
What?
Was Gordon what?
When Maggie finally makes his move, how in the blazes are we gonna stop him?
So
Look
this
how
is
small that those letters are.
yeah, and this is really like
Authorized.
the whole goal of the issue is that one line. Xavier's fears that Magneto is up to something. That's just the whole premise of this issue to show that
Right. They
Magneto.
went looking for him and they found
Yeah.
that he's not there.
Yeah.
But a throwaway character is.
Yeah, Garrock.
So now we get one page back to Scott Summers and Lee Forrester on the. What are they wearing?
I don't know. What is
I don't
it?
even know.
Look.
Like, listen, they're just going to recap and say that yesterday we weren't here. Today we're here.
Yes.
I don't have vision. I wish I had vision. If Magneto figures out who I am, we're as good as dead.
Yeah.
Cockrum wants to draw some weird space pirate stuff. Cool. He gets to do it.
Yeah. But the last panel, though, of course, reveals.
Right. And of course, Lee wants to have sex, as she does the entire
Always,
time.
the entire time.
And Magneto walks in and he says, "Excellent. By the way, Cyclops, you may remove that ridiculous blindfold if you wish. So as long as you remain my guest, your vaunted optic blast will not function. You are quite helpless and completely at my mercy." So
Why
we
would
don't
they
know.
function?
We don't know.
Okay.
So next issue, Magneto will be X-Men 150. It'll be some kind of climax they've been weekly building toward.
Oof.
And I say that just because I
Oof.
don't feel like there's not a whole lot of tension with this appearance of Magneto. I'm not concerned at all. There's no emotional weight to it for me.
Right.
All right. If you were to go back to the very first page, which I don't want you to do, but you could if you wanted to.
We'll not do that.
It calls Dave Cockrum and Joe Rubenstein the two artists.
Mhm.
They're not called penciler inker or layouts and embellishment or layouts and finishes. They're both artists. And when I look at this issue, I see pages that were not Dave Cockrum. In terms of faces, basically everything in the pit and the panels leading up to it, the confusing layouts, I think that Rubenstein or someone else is drawing this issue at times. Like either someone who's uncredited or Rubenstein himself is doing pencils and inks, because the style switches, the lack of clarity is a sign that it isn't Cockrum, and some of the faces don't look like Cockrum either to me. So I wonder if this is Cockrum's speed or lack thereof coming back to, like, showing itself that he needed help finishing this issue.
Right.
The stinky issue.
Well, it's as Jason so aptly put in the chat, it is a $5 back issue comic.
Yeah, I think this is one a person would get if they want to, finish their run. Like, they want to just have all the issues, but it definitely is not an issue that is memorable other than Kitty's costume.
Right. Because that becomes a thing. Right. Sure.
Yeah, like the plot was inconsequential.
Yeah.
Unless, like, Garrick is okay. Like, think about status quo. Before this issue, Garrick is down the pit.
Yep.
By the end of this issue, Garrick is down the pit.
A different pit. He calls it a smaller.
Are they really that different? They both fall to the center of the earth, and the closer you go to the center of the earth, the closer the pits are to each other anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, it just feels like this issue, if you never read it, nothing really changes.
Right.
Other than Professor Xavier is a jerk.
Other than he's a jerk. And we get to have that great issue with her costume. And, yeah. But hey, not every issue is going to be a winner.
I'm skipping ahead. I want to see if this next issue she's still wearing it.
Oh.
I'm opening up 150.
First appearance of this issue of this costume should be worth it.
Of the classic. I also would love to hear anyone's take on how you would how you would make this costume out of Marvel Legends pieces.
Or how you cosplay in it.
Oh my god. That would be a great one if someone showed up in
I
that
guarantee it's happened.
that someone has cosplayed as that version of Kitty Pryde.
I love that so much about just going a little bit into the fandom stuff and some of the shows that we find ourselves on with some of the people on these calls too. And, I love when people are so specific about that version of the costume they're wearing.
Graydon does not like Cyclops' new costume either.
You don't like the octopus across his chest, Graydon?
So this next issue, I'm just holding it in hand. It feels like it's double-sized.
Okay.
Oh, it is double-sized, 150th issue. And I wonder if that's why. Like, this adds to my theory that Cockrum did not draw the entire issue last time because he's busy drawing this one. I'm not going to spoil anything except for I see whether or not she's wearing that costume.
Okay.
And if you thought Wolverine's sideburns, mutton chops were long in this issue, wait until they get wet and they show their true length.
Okay.
You've never seen such droopy mutton chops in your life.
Wow.
Wow, I've never read this issue before. I can't wait. All right, I gotta stop. Any interesting letters there?
I don't think so. One from Carolyn Amos and Elizabeth Holden and Frederick Schiller and Andres Gomez.
Two women writing in.
Yeah.
It's like octopus.
It's like octopus. And that's not the name for him. That's the name for the thing he uses.
Oh, man.
Hey, Lee. Get ready.
Oh, there you go. So that was Uncanny X-Men, issue 149.
Holy crap.
Claremont, Cockrum, Rubenstein. Not great lettering. I can't believe I'm actually complaining about lettering, but it came true.
But, but it is when it doesn't work, like when you and I had to figure like who's talking now, like that's
yes.
Yeah.
It goes to show you that it's something that you think might be simple, but when it's not going well, it actually makes the comic book really hard to read.
Exactly.
So good lettering or even competent lettering is meaningful. Great lettering, you wouldn't even notice it's doing its job. You would hear sound effects from great lettering. You wouldn't even read them. You just would think that you heard it. And yeah, man, we get to read a lot of great comics where the lettering is outstanding. So we're lucky people for sure. But that brings us to the end of the episode. Is there anything else you want to cover, sir?
Oh no, I think we're okay.
No?
I think we're okay. We're okay on this one. Yeah.
All right.
We're okay on this one. Yeah.
Then I'm going to just quickly plug Group of 7, A Most Secret Tale, our first trade paperback. Came out in 2020. Great year for making new comics.
Yeah.
Only a couple copies left of that trade. So if you want one, hit us up. Try going to group7comics.ca. And that, again, is Group of 7 with the number 7. You can also pick up Group of 7 Comics issue 7 or issue 8 featuring the Peregrines, or 2 different one-shot issues featuring the Peregrines. Peregrines The Obstacle Course and Peregrines Londinium, which were originally put out into the world through Instagram as a fun experiment for a month. We put out 3 panels a day every day, telling an entire spontaneous adventure, which we are also doing right now. So you can go to @Group of 7 Comics, again the number is 7, on Instagram, and you can see our newest original spontaneous Instagram comic, Peregrines Hunter's Moon. And I feel angry at you because I used up the moon in the letters on this one. But Hunter's Moon is the one where there should be 2 moons.
2 moons. Double moon.
But I feel like that wouldn't really
Let a
work.
moon landing. Yeah.
Yeah. Either way, you can find our comics there. Please, for the video, click like, subscribe if you haven't already subscribed, share with someone who you think would either enjoy it, or share with someone who you know would be bothered by this so much, because some things are obnoxious, and this might be one of them. So you can probably get them pretty good. I just noticed I'm wearing my giant size X-Men.
Oh, there you go.
Do you know that?
Well,
So
now I
in action right here. But you know what I'm not wearing, Chris?
pants.
Specifically, the X-Men underpants
Oh yes,
that
the
you
ones
got for me
I
like
got for
20
you.
years ago.
That's right. I'm glad they still are in functioning order 20 years later.
Well, they only fit me for a couple of years, and until I started really working, I got really big and huge and strong, and so they're like my pre-workout
Excellent.
size. They're like slimmer Jason underwear.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so I'll get back into them one day, and I'll parade around in them on the internet for your pleasure.
No, that's okay.
Yeah. Okay, maybe not. So that's all good. Comics pitched. YouTube stuff plugged. What else we need to do?
I wish everybody maybe just, hey, safe, wonderful holiday season out there. Lots of things going on, lots of family time, lots of time off, lots of seasonal gatherings. Please enjoy yourselves. Have a great, safe, wonderful time with each other.
Well said, sir.
Thanks, bud.
And thank you everyone for hanging out with us today. It's been always good having you guys in the chat.
And some new voices too in the chat too. Gary, shout out to you. Welcome. Hope you enjoyed that. Please join us again. Check out the videos.
Has Grant VV Crosby been here before?
I don't know.
You think the VV is a W, but expressed as two V's?
Cool. Like the band Always.
Could be.
Could be. Anyway. But anyway, welcome. Enjoy. Thank you for joining us.
Yes. Jason, happy holidays to you too. Hope you're
Yeah,
well and enjoying making all those amazing comics. Check out Jason's stuff too if you're not already, which I'm assuming everybody is, but we should plug him every time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay, Chris, we're done.
Xmas. Oh, Merry Xmas.
That's
Good
what they
job,
celebrate,
Wayne.
of course. All right, everyone, take care.
All right.
And we'll see you again next week when are we going to do 150 or are we going to do Pride of the X-Men?
I don't know. We'll figure it out.
We'll figure it out.
Figure it
All
out.
right. Talk to all you
All right.
later.
Have a great night,
Take care.
everyone.